What if one of the most infamous criminals in modern history could have been stopped years earlier, before the headlines, before the outrage, before the world even knew his name? What if the evidence were already there, clear, consistent, and impossible to ignore? Long before the public took notice, victims had already stepped forward. Young girls shared their experiences, which, despite their diverse backgrounds, revealed a troubling similarity. They described being approached often by other girls and told about a wealthy man who would pay them to visit his home. What sounded simple at first quickly turned into something far more serious once they stepped inside the mansion. As more accounts surfaced, investigators began to notice the similarities. This was no longer a series of isolated claims. It was structured, repeated, and deliberate. At the center of it all was Jeffrey Epstein. In the early 2000s, Epstein lived in a wealthy neighborhood in Palm Beach. To the outside world, he was a successful financier with powerful connections. He lived behind the gates of a large mansion and maintained an image that few questioned. But behind that image, a different story was unfolding. Concerns from parents and statements from victims began reaching local authorities. Detectives in Palm Beach started documenting everything: interviews, timelines, and supporting details. What stood out most was consistency. Each account reinforced the others. Instead of weakening under scrutiny, the case grew stronger with every new statement. Investigators gathered evidence, including phone records and connections between individuals. The case was no longer built on one accusation, but on a growing number of voices pointing in the same direction. It quickly became clear that this situation extended beyond a local issue. The scale of the allegations demanded broader attention. As the investigation progressed, the case moved to the federal level. It came under the authority of the U.S. Attorney's Office, led at the time by Alexander Acosta. At this level, the potential charges were far more serious. Federal prosecution could have led to decades in prison, possibly even life. Based on the evidence already collected, many believed the case was strong enough to support those charges. For the first time, it seemed like full accountability was within reach. But behind the scenes, the direction of the case began to change. While investigators continued their work, negotiations were taking place out of public view. Federal prosecutors and Epstein's legal team entered discussions that would ultimately reshape the outcome of the case. These negotiations were not widely known at the time. They happened quietly, without public scrutiny, and without full involvement from those most affected. By 2007, those discussions led to a non-prosecution agreement. Under this deal, Epstein would not face federal charges. Instead, he would plead guilty to lesser offenses at the state level. For many observers, this was a dramatic shift from what the case initially appeared to warrant. Even more concerning was the fact that many victims were not fully informed about the agreement before it was finalized. Some only learned about it after the decision had already been made. In 2008, Epstein was officially arrested. However, the charges were limited to state-level offenses, including soliciting prostitution and procuring a minor for prostitution. The sentence was 18 months, but even that did not reflect a typical outcome. Epstein was granted work release, allowing him to leave jail for extended periods during the day. For most of the week, he spent hours outside the facility before returning later. To many, this did not resemble meaningful punishment. It raised concerns about fairness and equal treatment under the law. The reaction was immediate and persistent. Observers questioned why federal charges had been dropped. Legal analysts, journalists, and members of the public began examining how such a strong case could result in such a limited outcome. Attention focused on the decisions made during the federal phase of the investigation, particularly those involving Alexander Acosta. Years later, the deal would continue to be debated. Some defended it as a strategic decision based on the circumstances at the time. Others argued that it represented a failure to fully pursue justice, despite the available evidence. This story isn't only about Jeffrey Epstein, it's about power. The kind of power that doesn't just exist in public, but behind closed doors. The kind that can influence outcomes, shape decisions, and change the direction of justice itself. Because in this case, the evidence was there, the voices were there, the opportunity was there. And yet, the outcome told a very different story. It raises uncomfortable questions about how the system works, about who it works for, and whether justice is truly equal for everyone. Why? Because when influence enters the equation, the rules can start to bend. And when that happens, the line between accountability and escape becomes dangerously thin. This case forces us to confront something difficult, that sometimes it's not just about what happened. It's about what was allowed to happen and why. Because in moments like this, justice doesn't just fail quietly, it leaves behind questions that doesn't go away. The victims waited, not just for justice, but to be heard. For years, their voices sat in silence, buried under delays, lost momentum, in a system that moved on too quickly. To them, it wasn't just a case file, it was their reality, their pain, their unanswered questions. Time passed, and with it, something important faded. Not just evidence, not just urgency, but opportunity. The opportunity to act sooner, the opportunity to listen more closely, the opportunity to make things right. And in the end, what remains isn't just what happened, but what could have been done differently. What do you think? Did the system fail? Or was it something more intentional? Let me know in the comments. I want to hear your perspective. If you found this case interesting, don't forget to like the video. It helps more people discover stories like this. Subscribe for more deep dives into cases that deserve attention and the truth behind them. Because some stories don't just disappear. Every case leaves a shadow. Every mystery deserves a voice. This is Shadow Case Files.